Hello, it is Thursday and we are talking bad blood. Tonight we're going to be talking about radios. And joining me tonight is Moondog in his studio. How you
Hey,
doing?
everybody. How's it going?
Good.
Giving you a shout out from the West Coast, from the crazy California state here. But my heart's always with you guys back east.
Yeah, that's your problem. And on the line is Warthog. How you doing?
My name's Eric. I'm from the Bronx, from the Boogie Down Bronx, New York.
Yeah.
So I'm joining the stream tonight.
Awesome. Great. And like I said, radios, discussing the use and misuse of the radios that everyone is required to have because you read the player packet and you already know that. So that's the idea for tonight. So we're going to be talking about general usage, not so much, hey, I just got this new fancy radio off Amazon. How do I program it? We're not talking about that. We're going to talk about the basics of radio usage, protocols, the fun stuff, and really most importantly, when not to use a radio.
Yes.
So just because you have a communication device doesn't mean you need to be communicating. It's listening and following and, all that fun jazz. So that's really the idea. So the basics idea. Everybody on the field is required to have some kind of, FRS, GMRS compatible radio. Um, I should have a nice picture here. These are the three most common radios out there right now that you can get pretty relatively cheaply. Everybody seems to be on the Baofeng wagon. I'm no slouch. I have over a dozen now. So we got our typical Baofeng. Then we've got the famous Motorola Talkabout, which is a strictly FRS radio, no bells and whistles, nothing fancy. And then the Cobra, a little harder to find, but still an FRS GMRS radio. Gets the job done. You can communicate, you can listen, and like I said, that's really the important part, right? Um, in the player packet, of course, is the list of frequencies and their corresponding channels. So if you get a programmable radio, like let's say one of these here, this is the Baofeng UV5R, you can program it with the actual 6-digit, 7-digit frequency that you're going to be using.
And that's a little bit bigger than most folks are used to seeing that because you got
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I put in the extended battery because I'm constantly talking to somebody while we're
Yeah.
out there, be it you or other admins or whatever on the field, and I want to make sure that I don't go dead in the middle of a game because
Yeah.
suck.
You don't, and I don't think I mean, the average player doesn't really need the extended one for the kind of communication that we're requiring of them, or even if they're going to be using that for very basic team communication.
Oh,
So
I completely agree. Yeah, the if you look here again, this is the UV5R as it comes. That is with the battery installed in it. The thing is, what, 4 feet, 4 inches tall,
yeah,
at best. With the stock radio antenna, you're looking at less than a foot. You can put it in your pocket and it's still going to work. It's a workhorse. The thing just does what it's supposed to do, which is nice.
It's gonna
So,
last you for like 12 hours for that battery. I mean, it should be fully charged though, but
yeah,
oh
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
yeah. So you
I've
don't need an extended for it. I mean, it looks good with an extended battery, but that the small battery that comes with it, it's good. Like for like the whole game.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, and I'll be the first to admit that I've never actually lost battery, uh, and they're in a game like this. Now, I do use these smaller radios in some of my other events where we're talking 24, 48 hours of constant radio usage. Then the batteries can go, but it's still I got the spares, because I've got a dozen of the small guys. I've got this was my personal radio for pretty much everything with, of course, with the extended battery. This is the UV82. I got this one because this one is true dual channel. It can actually listen and broadcast on two different channels at the same time.
Ham and JRS.
No, two different frequencies.
Okay.
I should have said
Yeah.
channel.
Dual. Yeah.
Yeah, so which is nice. So that way I could put like one on staff, and because one year I don't know if you remember, Tom, you
Mhm.
tasked me with running the tribals as well.
Yeah.
So I needed to be able to talk to tribals and talk to staff at the same time. So it was useful. I could just key flip, and I was talking to two different teams at the same time, which was nice. And then the new guy out there, people are starting to pick these up. This is
That is a brick.
It
Yeah,
is a
it's
brick.
it's
It
this
is a
is
brick.
the AR25/UV25, depending on what wattage you get. This is a 10-watt dual band radio, and this thing is an absolute monster. Even the screen alone is just like, I don't know if you can see it.
That thing right there means business, man.
Yeah, this
It's
like
it's really it's
I
good.
would say easily 2 pounds.
Dang.
Yeah, it's
So
it's it's
I
brutal.
it's, and I'm sure it's completely unnecessary for the average player to get one of those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Completely useless for our
Yeah.
purposes. But I'm a radio geek. Buck has been bothering me about it, so much threatening to kind of give me one. It's like, no, we're not doing that. So I finally found a 2 pack. So I have two of them actually, a 2 pack on sale. I was like, fine, I'll get the new radios. I'll figure
Yeah.
out how to program it, and yeah, it's
When
a,
you're in the hobby, you gotta have you need to have it like
yeah,
that. I mean, like it's really good.
yeah, I like it.
I love it. I hooked that thing to my car and I just put in 80 watt antenna on top of my roof and I could hit the repeater instantly.
Yeah. Actually, this comment's actually pretty good. Yeah, this new one, the UVAR25 actually has the ability to copy frequencies on the go from another radio.
Oh, that's good too.
Yeah,
Yeah. Now,
it's nuts.
I think I pointed out to Zinger is that the Baofeng 5Rs are great because they're cheap and they have a lot of features that a lot more expensive radios have, but they are somewhat notorious for not being really staying within their lane in terms of frequency.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually is a problem, and there is a way to we're getting into the programming. Let's come back to that.
Yeah. Let's not get into the weeds too
Yeah.
much about that. Okay.
Because there is a way to combat that, and I've been
Okay.
experimenting over the past couple of years.
Oh, good.
So again, with if you go to a programmable radio, your frequencies for your team are listed in the player packet, but those same listings are actually corresponding to the stock FRS GMRS frequencies that they come with. So this is the basic frequency chart. Like I said, every team's got its own frequencies and channels. So if you have a Cobra or a Motorola, and you're
Or Midland.
or Midland, sure, you're Midland, so your channel 1, this is the frequency it's already programmed to, 46, 462, 5625. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the player packet does correspond with the channel to the frequency. So you don't have to be a radio nerd like us to be able to figure it out, which is a plus because they're a little daunting. Not every game and every producer requires them. Moondog and I, we've been doing this game for quite a while. What's your take? Why are radios so important out there?
It is a very large field with very varied terrain. By varied, I mean there are hills, there are structures, there are ditches, practically canyons there. And just from a player safety standpoint, we've had a number of accidental injuries from the terrain, people tripping, twisting ankles or whatever. And you could find yourself at the bottom of a ravine and your friends or nobody may know where you are, and because of the combat, people just playing and their guns are firing and they're yelling, screaming, they can't hear you, go, help, I've hurt myself. And so that's the reason why we want to have a radio, just so that you can get to the emergency channel and contact us and tell us that you've been injured, or that your friend has been injured. That's the primary reason we want everybody to carry a radio at all times for the game.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree, and it's important, and that actually brings up my biggest pet peeve for a game this large. Since everyone is in constant communication, and information does get passed down the line, ceasefire. I hate ceasefire. I understand its need, and when it's coming from you, me, Virtue, Joker, any, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Head Kill, Ginger Bear. If they call a ceasefire, there's a reason for it.
Yeah,
Now,
something's up. Like
right.
serious.
But
Yeah.
the biggest problem now is somebody rolls an ankle, falls down a flight of stairs. Well, that's a big deal. Don't get me wrong. It's not a game stopper, right? So what happens is little Jimmy's friend gets on the radio and starts screaming ceasefire, ceasefire, right?
And
Well,
that goes out to the entire
it goes out
field.
to everybody. And even if even if it does stay within your team, that doesn't mean that somebody on a staff channel or bleed over, because bleed over happens, is going to hear this. And then also we get people calling ceasefire, and we've no idea what's going on. We've no idea where it is. And then everyone just stops dead in their tracks. And that's, strangely enough, that's actually really hard to manage. When everything stops, it's this weird lull that just, you can't figure out what to do next. So then we have to then try and break through the net and find out what's going on, where's it at, what do you need, because we'll be right there as fast as our little legs can take us, but we'll be there. Do you need a medevac, anything like that, where it's, no, he knocked the wind out of himself, or whatever reason, or
Yeah.
so we took off their goggles to clean them and then screamed ceasefire. And it's not how we do it. I get it. It's a safety
Yeah.
thing, but ceasefire is really only meant to be announced by staff players and us, Moondog and I. And it's, unless it's a massive problem, it's localized to that area. So if we've got people over in, say, the airfield, and a ceasefire gets called in the pine trees, the airfield doesn't need to stop what they're doing. It doesn't affect them,
Yeah.
right? So calling us global ceasefire doesn't help anybody, because we're on a clock. The game's still going on. People are still trying to have fun and play the game. Now, if it's localized to your area, obviously, move away, let the people come in who need to come in, do what they got to do, and we're going to continue on with the game. If it's a major thing, we got to bring in an ambulance or something, which happens. I get it. That's different. But
Yeah.
for minor things, please don't call ceasefire. Run it up your chain of command. Get to your embed. Say, hey, little Jimmy did this. They'll get with the CO, or they'll call one of us and say, hey, we got a player hurt. It looks like he busted up his knee. We might need the gator. Okay, where's he at? Give us the grid coordinates off your map, because we know how to read maps, right? And we'll get the gator right out there. We'll get him off the field. Please go about your business. Somebody stay with him. We'll be right there, kind of thing. Your whole team of 200 people doesn't need to be crowded around this kid holding up the game. I get it. You care about your player, and that's wonderful. But keep playing. That's why we're here. If it's big, if it's major, we'll take care of it. If it's minor, and he can get up under his own power, great, more power to him. If he can walk off the field on his own and go get a glass of water, hey, even better. But yeah, so I'm ranting. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Leave ceasefire to the staff. If there's an issue, run it up your chain of command, and they will determine what needs to be done next. That's really the whole point I'm very ineloquently getting to.
Yeah, and that's actually a good segue there to a question that Zenzinger had over there, is about having a dedicated announcement channel and asking about radios that broadcast in two frequencies.
Yeah, I tried that with Wasteland, Um, and sadly, I found out no one was using it. So I get the idea of having a broadcast channel, but I think in our world, that's really what the admins channel is for,
Yeah.
and let the CO and the embeds disseminate information as response as needed. Um, because we also, this will actually segue into the next segment. We do talk about where everybody is sometimes, right? So, like, Joker's gonna, hey, where's Marxists? And he's gonna tell us in, plain text where he's at. Well, Deus Ex is listening, Green's Army is listening, Blackshear's listening, but only the COs and the embeds are listening, so they don't care where they're not going to game the system. They, that
Yeah.
so
The
that
other,
brings up the we used to call it what we used to call it for tantalum contract, no electronic warfare.
yeah, yeah.
Don't listen in on other teams.
And don't jam the other
Yeah,
team's
yeah.
channel.
Don't jam communications because, like Moondog said earlier, communication is for safety. It's not so much for tactics. You're running around as a 200 player army. You're not exactly being stealthy. So you don't really need to be given these super secret orders to players at all times. Now, you are going to have your team channels for that, and that's great. But you're 200 people running around the woods as a group. You're not exactly hiding from anybody. So the radios are for safety and for general order kind of thing.
Mhm.
So don't listen in, don't game the game, and definitely don't jam frequencies because you're just going to make it harder on everybody else, and you're going to not be well liked because you're they're going to find out who it is eventually because we always do, just like we always find out the guy who's got his Vox still turned on. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
For
What
those of you who don't know what Vox is, it's when your radio will automatically start transmitting when it picks up discernible sound.
it's meant to be a convenience, hands-free kind of communication, so you don't have to constantly press
Yeah,
the talk button, and you could just talk. Well, that's perfectly fine if you're out in the Rockies on a trail with you and just your buddies on channel 19. That's fine. But when you're there with potentially 1,000 other players, and like as Ian said, 200 on your team. They don't need to know that, hey, I got to go stop at the head,
yeah,
take a leak,
and
and your
and
box is on,
and
or you.
it's always the guy with the headset, right? And
Yeah,
this is why it's important because you got your headset on, right? Well, you got your rifle on. Here's your gearbox. Here's your microphone. Every time you pull that trigger and your gears spin, the
it
microphone's
turns on the
picking it up.
box.
Yeah, and we're just hearing, and I don't want to hear that.
Or at the beginning of the game, before the game even starts, we're hearing folks haggling or whatever, or talking to the vendors because they're buying BBs or whatever. Like, you've got your Vox on. Who's
Yep.
got that on? Turn it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for every radio, Vox is an option, and for every radio, you can and will turn it off. You don't need it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have like some kind of super duper microphone that only picks up the whisper coming out of your mouth, hey, more power to you. But nobody is that guy. So, uh, yeah. Now, to get a little more technical, now we were talking about bleed over and how these Chinese radios can pick up everything, right? I'm playing right now with the squelch levels. If anyone's familiar with radios, they're squelch. It's what it basically controls the sensitivity of your input and output of the radio, right? So I'm playing with now right now the setting of how much can I turn up the squelch to block out frequencies and sounds I don't want and still be able to get a strong enough signal that I require. I haven't come to a happy medium yet. But like So I'm trying right now with Squelch level 5, and we're gonna see what that does for me. Because especially before we get out on the field and you've got
Hmm.
all those radios in one tiny little area, the noise of them just picking up everything is just too much. I usually don't
Yeah.
turn my radio on until the game starts, and
Yeah,
I'm
that's a
away from
whole
people.
different environment at the beginning of the day when everybody's milling about and they're there meeting up with their friends and their teams, and then stopping at the vendor's booth, and then we try to get everybody gathered for the morning briefing. There's just a lot of people at close proximity to each other.
Yeah. So now we've been talking a lot about, our, Moondog, you and I, and how we approach the radios. I asked Eric to join us tonight because, as a player perspective of the use of radios, and he's a bit of a radio nerd, and he's gonna get deep in his own weeds
Mhm.
there. But Eric, as a player, and knowing that everybody out there has to have a radio for whatever reason, what do you find is kind of the most common thing you're going to deal within your team and the different radio usage and whatnot? Did we lose him?
Or did we put it? Is he on mute?
No, he's there. He probably just didn't hear me. All right, we'll see if he comes back to it. So,
Okay.
what you've played games where radios are required. What do you think? Like, we're not uniform. Not everybody has the same equipment out there.
That's also the one of the issues that we have is that we do have to design the way we plan our radio usage around the lowest common denominator. So not everybody has a radio that's capable of broadcasting and receiving in multiple channels.
Right,
And then there's folks. Fortunately, we can use both FRS and GMRS all the way from 1 to 22.
right.
That's pretty much standard now. But in the past, we had to limit ourselves to some
I
folks had
lost
the
the
older.
audio.
Oh,
Oh,
we can hear you now. Can you hear us, Eric?
he'll figure it out. Maybe he'll reconnect.
Okay.
We'll figure it out. Go on.
Yeah. But I remember sometimes this is way early on, like over 15 years ago. But people would complain that I'd set up a like channel 20, and they said, "Oh, my radio only goes up to 16." Like,
Right, right, right.
okay, well, yeah, that could be a problem.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, I think yeah, there he is. The earlier versions of Motorola Talkabouts, I think, could only go to like 14. So yeah, that is a problem. If we set up a channel frequency that is something because I get it. The early Talkabouts were FRS radios,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And we use the term FRS, GMRS kind of back
So
and
that's
forth.
because they changed the
Right.
rules
They
in
changed the
terms.
rules,
Yeah,
but yeah, you're right. 10 years ago, it wasn't like that. FRS ended at 14. GMRS went from 15 to 22. So yeah, when you got a radio that was strictly FRS because of, FCC licensing and all that stuff, I get it. But, now again, with these things, if it can handle the frequency, because these are FCC compliant ish, I guess
hmm,
we'll say. If it's designed to reach that frequency, it can do the frequency. Like, I can't do ham with this, right? Or, thank God, military. I can't get down to like 55 hertz with something like this. I think the lowest can go is like 100 and 150 something. I forget. But like,
that's
it's
pretty
got,
low still.
oh yeah, it's still low, but
Yeah,
it's got ranges, and every radio out there that's going to be on the field can all do the ranges we require. Um, Now, if you've got some kind of fancy radio that is super, super special, well, that's on you. Figure it out. But we can't help you with something like that, unfortunately.
now from a player standpoint, I liked wearing earbuds, and almost all radios nowadays have some sort of audio port that you can
Mhm.
at least attach an earbud to. Um, and but it depends on every every manufacturer has a different setup in terms of the number of prongs and the type. So
Yep.
that's something that you have to get specific to your particular brand and model. But look for the ones that do have an auxiliary jack of some sort that you can attach, and it's like the old school phone earbuds wired one. And I would like to have I like to run that on one ear because one a lot of folks don't like having the radio volume turned up, so they're always worried when you're playing that, oh, what if somebody overhears something broadcast on the radio if I have the volume up and it's audible? I'll give away my position. In reality, it's very rare that would happen, but just for your own peace of mind, but also I can hear commands or at least communications much more clearly when I have an earbud in one ear. And it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be like a fancy mock military style or a Swordins or something kind of headset. Just a regular earbud that's wired that plugs in is good enough. Now, Eric, do you have your audio working now?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Great. So I wanted to ask you, and you were having audio problems. I was saying I asked you to join us tonight as a player to get your perspective on how within your faction do you guys kind of mesh together all the different radio types, and not everybody knows radio usage and things like that. How well does that work from a team level for that
Um.
you've experienced?
Um. When I'm with my squad, we have a private band that we use that only like 8 of us can hear.
Right.
So I always bring I always have two radios with me. The one from command. I mean the primary frequency from the Deus Ex, so that I could hear what's going on, and I have the other one for my squad. So it helps a lot when you know what you're doing, and then if you like, if you want to be really organized on the field, but not necessarily the usage of radio is really like it's better to yell than having it on the radio because
Okay.
sometimes people are yelling, and then if you're using the radio, they can't hear what your friend is saying. So I'd rather yell than you. I mean, I like using the radio because it sounds like like a real operation, but yelling is much better when you're playing airsoft.
Absolutely,
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
101% on that one.
And it's true, and it's a good point. It's like I was saying earlier, you're not exactly being stealthy out there when when this big mass of a team. So yeah, you're right. Yelling and pointing and whatever, sometimes just it's easier, because people's radios sometimes get turned off or lost. I don't know how many radios get turned into lost and found every year. That is not how I got all 12 of my Baofangs. That is,
Yeah.
but
But
yes, I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. Sometimes just using your actual voice is enough, and it gets the job done. But like,
Yeah.
if you're hurt, you can't yell. That's where really the radio comes in, because
Oh yeah, exactly.
yeah, because we've gone
I'll
the
be back in a
pistols have
sec.
gone the way of the dodo. So
yeah.
it's all about communications now.
Now, there's a comment from Zinger again about Bluetooth and bone conduction. Yeah, those are. I haven't seen too many radios that offer Bluetooth, but with so many people's signals out there, that would make me a little doubtful as to the reliability sometimes.
Yeah, it's true. Bluetooth can only do so many frequencies. So yeah, you're gonna get overlap there. And I'd be more afraid not of being listened to, of basically just losing connectivity and maybe not even realizing it.
And that's yet another piece of equipment that requires the battery to be charged.
Sure. Yeah.
So that and bone conducting. Well, I've just as a tip, I've used those comms where the older style military where you do squeeze your neck, and it has a mic that picks up from your throat. They never mention how irritating they can be after playing for a long time and having that rub on your neck. So I quickly I quickly abandoned that piece of equipment.
Yeah. Not a big fan. Well, I can't really touch my neck. I get grossed out by it. So honestly, just watching you playing with your neck was starting to bother me. But yeah, it's a certain. I mean, it's really up to everybody's personal preference. You like earbuds. I actually like having the microphone on my shoulder.
Yeah,
Um,
me too.
Oh yeah, you really? Okay. I kind of assumed for, you know, Deus Ex and their, invisibility camo that you'd want everything to be uniform and you'd have the, the headphones mounted to the helmet and all that cool stuff. So
I use earbuds when I'm playing a regular game like sniping. So like just to make it more realistic.
that's and that's great. Realism,
That's
we, we
we're Milsim, right? I mean, that's the whole point of
Yeah.
airsoft, right?
yeah, we discussed it a couple weeks ago with Jackal that, airsoft is as much a fashion show as it is anything. So, you want to look cool, right? Especially Primer's going to be out there making everybody famous. You're going to want
Oh
to look
yeah.
doing it. So, and he doesn't want pictures of somebody squeezing their throat. He wants to see that cool tactical helmet and, the 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 mirrored visor. Nobody can see anything. It's just, yeah, that's what makes everybody look good, right? That's why we're there.
Using your quad nods even during during daytime.
God. I you know what? I get it. I'm the kind of guy where if I've got a specific kit, right? I've got everything for that kit. If I'm going to change the kit, I've got a new kit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like for like my Vietnam stuff, right? I've got
Mhm.
a basic infantryman's kit, and then I've got a whole nother reconnaissance kit. The two don't meet, right? So if I've got a night vision capable helmet, I've also got a day helmet. Like yeah. Thanks, Todd. I appreciate you. But so I've got, I'm not going to bring out a night vision capable helmet for a noon operation. Why am I doing that?
Yeah.
One, it's heavy. Two, I look like an idiot. Why? Why am I going to do that to myself?
Except in when Primer takes a photo of you.
Well, sure. With Primer's taking photos, I get it. You want to look, Mr. Tactical, and that's great. I applaud you. Do it Friday night when he actually has a night event. So, but yeah, but I'm weird. I know I'm the weird guy who has multiples of everything because I can't not. Actually, Todd too. Todd's got probably three of everything because he's a hoarder.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. But not everybody is like me. People have one, two kits, maybe two different camos. You got a green, you got a tan, whatever. But yeah, the guys running out there with quad tubes. Why? What are you doing? Why? Are you hanging out with the guy wearing the neoprene? Like, I don't understand why you're doing this to yourself. So, but again, that's me, and that's my mission to keep all of you people from killing yourselves out there. Don't take unnecessary stuff with you.
Mhm.
Like, what do you need? You need water. You need a bag of peanuts in your pocket.
It's spare batteries if you're not running like a lithium battery pack kind of a radio. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like, but like nothing crazy. You need the bare essentials to keep you in the game for 6 hours. That's your mission, everyone. Don't overdo it because you're just going to hurt yourself, and then we got to call in the the woo woo to come get you. And I don't want to do that. I don't. We shouldn't have to do that. We talk about this every week, and you learned from last year. Downsize. Don't wear stuff that is going to make you overheat. Yes, everyone wants to look cool, but I think we talked about this a month ago. I don't know of a single camo family that doesn't have a summer variant. I'm sorry, a modern camo family that doesn't have a summer variant. If you've got Gore-Tex multicam, please don't go get the thin stuff, because you're gonna kill yourself out there. You know, I
Yeah.
just yeah, and then Todd, I'm gonna pick on you, Todd. Back when Marxists under our good friend Spank, we really kind of pushed the Soviet angle of the team. We all wore woolen uniforms.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
and and Todd still does. I applaud him, and I keep telling him, wear chocolate chip, just switch to chocolate chip, the Desert Storm. But he's still going to wear the wool, and they look cool. It really does. Nobody has it, but you don't need it. It's wool. Why are we doing this to ourselves?
Did they wear wool in Afghanistan?
Yeah, yeah.
That's
It
crazy.
was from the Soviet-Afghanistan
Yeah.
War,
Wow.
and why? Why are you doing this? It is summertime in Pennsylvania. It is fucking hot. You don't
Indeed.
need
It's
wool. You don't need Gore-Tex. You don't need neoprene. You need ripstop and you need lightweight. That's all you need. Every
Don't get
camo
wet.
family has some kind of lightweight material. Pare it down and just be smart about it. And everybody wants their gear to match. Gear is heavy. Gear, figure it out. Play with it now. See what you need, what you don't need. Do you really need the carabiners carrying, I don't even know what stuff? No, you probably don't. You don't need a big old school backpack full of everything you own and your lunch.
Now
You
I got a question for you. And this is probably appropriate considering you do Vietnam. What's your stance on like housings for radios to make them look a little more military?
in real life, or are you talking in Vietnam?
No, for players
Oh,
who
for now,
want. Yeah.
it goes back to the camo family. Condor makes a pouch in every camo family. It can go on your belt. They're all Molly. You can throw it on your plate carrier, whatever. I even wear one more out there. I put a black a magazine, not magazine, radio pouch on my belt. This brick of death will sit in it. My 4-foot antenna is going
Can't
to
wait
run
to
up
see
my
it.
back, and I'm going to have connectivity, and I'm not going to worry about it. If you're wearing something from 1979, like Todd, stuff it in a pocket, or anything. The radios are going to work no matter what. The antennas don't have to be to the stratosphere. They're going
Oh
to
yeah,
pick
let's talk about antennas for a little bit because a lot of folks are seeing regular players bring the extra long folding ones. Are
sure.
they necessary?
Um, yes and no. The popular misconception is bigger the radio, better my performance.
You mean the antenna bigger the radio
What
the
did I say?
antenna?
Antenna. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Longer the antenna, the better performance I'm going to get out of the radio. No, 100% not true. The range of your radio is dependent solely on the power of the radio. That's it, nothing more. Baofeng radios and Motorola's and Cobra's in the FRS frequency are line of sight. So that is where that's the only time a long antenna is actually going to help you, is line of sight.
So
This
that means that if it's taller, you
Yeah,
could see
you could
it could.
potentially go over obstacles that could block your radio waves. But this radio, 5 watts. All it's ever going to output is 5 watts. That they claim you can get 20 miles. Bullshit. You can get maybe 2 miles in Kansas on this. That's about it.
And that's where the stock like three
Yeah,
inch
the
antenna.
stock antenna, roughly yay big. That's if you don't have anything in the way. No trees, no structures, no people, no other radios with radio waves that are, you know, shooting everything God knows what direction. That's the best you're going to get out of it. 5 watts, line of sight. Now, this new one, actually, UV82, 8 watts. A little bit better performance, but still roughly the same radio. Like I said, I only got it because it can do dual band simultaneously. That's my entire reason for owning this guy.
And
Still love it.
there are some models of I know there's some Motorola and Midland models that also have ability to receive signals from two channels.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Right.
I've got a Midland model that does that. So
Oh
you
yeah,
don't have to necessarily have.
and they're great, but still a
Mhm.
Midland, a handheld Midland. Actually, let me bring up my graphic. Every one of these radios, the UV5R, the Motorola Talk About, and the Cobra, these are 5-watt radios. It's the most you're ever going to get out of them. 5 watts.
And that's by regulation from the FCC.
That is correct.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's and we're not even going to get into meter length of the antennas. I'm going to do that. New guy, 10 watts. So double the power of the other guy. Again, strictly because I want to make sure I have connectivity to every single area of that field for the safety aspect of it. That's it. It's not because I need to be heard. You're all hearing me, for the past 2 months, and you're sick of hearing from me. I get it. But it's so I can hear you. That's really the whole reason. Because, so you and I, we're switching out on the field. You're in some far corner. I'm over in staging. We need to talk to each other. I got to get through all that interference. I got to be able to get through the buildings, all that stuff, and vice versa. You know what I mean? If we're both out on the field, the little one is going to be fine. It's going to pick up everybody and everything. I'll be fine. But like I said, I like the longer antenna strictly for the line of sight it's going to give me. Doesn't give me better range, doesn't give me more power. It's just like using the little stubby. I'm just hopefully getting over some buildings that might be blocking my signal. That's just it. And you know what? I could be completely full of it. It might not make a difference at all. All I know is these have to have some kind of antenna. Because if I turn this thing on now, I'm getting nothing because I don't have antennas connected to it. If I plug in the Billy Club, which is what I'm calling this new antenna, I can pick up. I used to be able to get, New York City police, but they went to a trunk system, the bastards. That's just me.
So is just to reiterate, there's really no communications advantage from a practical level of just the default 3-4 inch
Yep. Yep.
stubby antenna or those folding long ones.
That's
And
correct.
what would be the disadvantage of having the really long folding ones?
The folding. I mean, it's still a piece of coiled copper inside that folded plastic, and you could break it, you could crimp it, you could kink it, and then all of a sudden you've got a 4-foot piece of garbage. So again, me being me, I'll have a spare antenna in my pocket. Like I said, I'll have this guy when my 4-foot whip goes down. And according to Eric and according to Buck, this thing is going to do me just fine. And I have no reason to believe it won't. But my brain says I need my whip. But we'll
Right.
see. But yeah, there's the length of the. If you go on Amazon right now, this is to the players, not to Moondog or Eric. You go on Amazon right now, you buy a Baofeng UV5R. You, I'm going to say nobody's listening. Nobody cares. You jailbreak it so it can actually transmit and listen on FRS channels because the new ones can't. I don't know why. You got to unlock it, factory reset it, basically. The antenna it comes with is going to be more than enough for our purposes. Because your only communication is really supposed to be with your own team, who you're going to be with anyway.
Yeah.
Now, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The only time I feel, and Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, only time I feel a player is going to really need extended radio communications if they leave the field and they need to re-enter and rejoin their team because they got
Yeah,
to
because
find them.
yeah,
Yeah, right.
and it's a big
So
Those
field. Like I
those
think we have.
those whip ones, the whip antennas.
just in general.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it just you're coming out of staging. You had to get something to eat. Your friend needed a break. Whatever. I get it. Everybody leaves for whatever reason. You got to find your team. Don't ask me because I don't know. But I'm going to go to the radio and find out where they are. So just go ahead. Get on the radio. Just call it in. Where are you? They're going to give you a very simple 2-digit grid coordinates. Look on your little handheld map and find them. Or follow the sound of chaos, and you'll eventually find them too. But that's really the only time I see, other than relaying pertinent information, what players really going to need a radio is emergency and you're lost. And coming in and off the field, I consider that being lost because you don't know where everybody is.
Yeah.
You know, so
If
that
they're like using a stubby or just a regular stock antenna, if they have a bad reception, they could just like point it to the sky or
Oh yeah,
probably
just hold it up.
yeah, yeah,
yep,
exactly, and then listen where they are or something like that. If you
yeah.
have a problem with you know signal or something, so just point up or maybe stand on something so you could hear them.
Yep.
Oh, there's a comment from
That
Zinger
is,
as to why they were blocked.
yeah. I mean, that's absolutely 100% true. And is also these radios don't do a very good job of filtering. Where FCC requires you to be able to listen on a frequency, transmit on a frequency,
Just
but
one, just that one.
just one. But if you actually look under the hood, these things are doing like 10 frequencies at once, which is why we can get bleed over when you get too many of them together. And that happens. And
Yeah,
I'm hoping that's where squelch is going to come into play, where I can, mess with the squelch and actually kind of block out some of that interference from other Baofeng and
Hmm.
Wufong radios and stuff like that, because those are still out there too. So
I'm always on 5. I mean, squelch level is just right in the middle, like
yeah,
5.
yeah, I was thinking five should be perfectly fine.
Yeah,
So yeah.
Now,
Go
I
ahead.
think it was I don't know if it was an earlier comment about when we started talking about Baofangs,
Hmm.
is that I got to get me one of those. Is there a compelling reason why a new player should get a Baofeng or one of the other sort of the off the shelf Midland or Motorola or Cobra brand? Everybody seems to want the Baofeng, but is there a reason why
I
you?
I would say, and Eric is probably going to agree with me, the military-esque factor of it. They look cool.
correct.
They're they're frequency based, not channel based. So you can kind of have a little LARPy fun with it. Um, but yeah, I think it's a cool factor, And honestly, they're cheap. Somebody started using them, and it caught on, and now everybody's using them, and that's great. If you know what you're doing with it, because these are a lot more than just punching in 6 digits and you're off and running. If you really want to get under the hood there, you can do all kinds of absolutely wacky stuff with these things. Um, 2 years ago, I tried setting up a repeater system. I don't know if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't work because the squelch didn't do its job, and I was just getting interference. But like, you can set up repeaters, which is illegal. It's illegal. Um, but you can do all kinds of stuff. You can customize these to any way you want if you're savvy with it. But you don't have to be. You could just turn it on, punch in your team's frequency, put it in your pocket, and you're good to go. Or a pouch or whatever. Yeah. So back to the pouch thing. Yeah. Again, it's a coolness factor. It's what looks good with what you're wearing, how you want to run. Um, some of these, like if because right now the handset plugs into here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to get this, little bit of a brick coming out of it. It might not fit in a pouch well. So you got to kind of finagle it a little bit or something like that. But it's a coolness thing. Um, yeah, so every camo scheme under the sun, Condor makes a pouch for it. Jackal Tactical, one of our vendors, is going to have all the stuff you're going to need.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, gear color doesn't matter. So if you're wearing all black gear, but all you can find is, a green radio pouch, okay, that's fine. Because you have to have the radio, just like you have to have water, you have to have eye protection. If you're under 18, you have to have mouth protection. It's not super important what you look like. It's about being safe and using your equipment to the best of your ability. So that's the way I see it. And I try and be a stickler for the rules like that, where, it's, I don't care how you look as long as you meet the requirements and you're safe. That's it. You know, You've been doing this longer than I have, and you designed the game. I can't assume you feel much different.
No, absolutely. And the important thing is that you have it, you don't abuse it, and it was there primarily as a backup safety, a piece of safety equipment, and there is some utility from a player attendee standpoint. Like you said, if you have to go get something out of your car and leave the field, you don't know where your team has moved to in that interim time. So you do need to find having comms, radio comms, is
Mm.
a real convenience in finding that your team again and getting back into the game.
I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier. Uh, and this is really more again of a safety thing. Let people know where you're going. Like if you're leaving the field, make sure somebody knows. Because if you
Oh
know
yeah.
if embeds and COs are doing their job, they're keeping a running count of who's on the field with them. And if they find that they're starting to lose numbers, they're going to let somebody know, and maybe worry. What this guy left the field at noon, and it's 3. Where did he go? Maybe somebody should check on him. Is he okay? Did he quit? But like if you're coming off the field, let somebody know from your team, hey, I got to run to the car. Hey, I got to hit the head, anything like that. And then get on the radio, find out where they are, rejoin your team. Well, respawn with your team because if you leave the field, you're dead. So find your teams, respawn and respawn with everybody else like you should. And just it's accountability. It's making sure nobody's left behind kind of thing. And because if you're keeping a good count, what if somebody got hurt and you can't find them? Okay, well, hey, this guy's been missing for 20 minutes. We were just over here. Let's go check, kind of thing. Oh, he didn't go back to his car. Okay, let's go find this guy. It's stuff like that.
Well, and one other thing about comms, I know a lot of folks when they see that requirement in the manual, some new players and even adults, I've gotten emails and inquiries like, do we really need to get a radio? And I just got to tell them, hey, even if it's not a game, you can use those radios in real life. They're really useful and important emergency equipment to have in your car.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
I
not like
agree.
you'll never use those things ever again.
Yeah, especially guys who are coming up as like a team. Like Eric, you guys are. I'm sure you're all going to be carpooling up as a team. It's an easy way to talk to each other from the car.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And sometimes it's fun. You get that whole now you're a CB trucker for 2 hours. Have fun with it. Yeah, so it's an investment. It's not oh, I got to get this radio for this game and I'm never going to use it again. Yes, you are. One, you're coming back next year. We already know that, and you're going to use it for other games. You're going to find all kinds of uses for these
yeah,
radios.
and you're playing airsoft, so you're gonna use it with your buddies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or be a radio nerd like me and turn it on while you're working and scan.
That's a real nerd.
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
back before the NYPD switched to a trunk system, I would literally just listen to police chatter sometimes,
Yeah, me
and
too. Me too. I enjoy listening to that. So
yeah, it's fun. That as long as you're not transmitting on government frequencies, listen in, have fun. You're not
yeah,
hurting.
I just
So
turn off duplex, right? So
right,
transmit is zero. I can't.
exactly.
You know.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that was really good. I'm looking at my notes here. Disable Vox. Yes, everybody's gonna turn off Vox.
Yeah.
When and when not to use your radio. Use your radio when you need help. Use your radio when you are confused. Use your radio when you're entering or exiting the field. Don't use your radio if you want to know if Billy wants to go get lunch. Don't use your radio when you're across the field and you see other teams start screaming contact. That's not contact. Don't do that. Don't use your radio and scream reloading. Nobody cares. It's okay, great. Good for you. We don't want to know. All you're doing is clogging up the channel from potential real information we need. Don't listen in on other teams and don't don't jam other frequencies. Don't
Yeah,
don't
that means like
don't voice them
go
out.
Yeah, don't mouth off. Don't
Now,
troll other people on
I'm
their on the
trying to
team.
wrap up so we can get to the raffle, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
there for some reason, and Timmy will probably tell me tomorrow. One of his neighbors doesn't like what we do for some reason. And usually near the middle of the afternoon, a neighbor will actually start getting on the radio and start to tone us out. And that's a pain in the butt. That's an absolute nightmare. So just don't be that guy who's playing DTMF tones to drown out other teams. Don't do that stuff. Um, and yeah, if you don't have a radio, you got plenty of time to get one now. Learn the basics of how to either program it or just find your frequency or your channel in the player packet and experiment with it. FRS and GMRS technically doesn't require a ham or an FCC license. So, play with the radio, get used to, because every radio is a little different, get used to how long it takes for the signals to start transmitting after you push the button because it's not immediate.
Oh yeah.
That there is a microsecond there of of when it actually will transmit after you key in. The Baofengs, you can program that down to, I think, 0.25 seconds or something like that. I think the standard is like, assume it takes about 1 second for your transmission to start before you can start talking. So just,
Correct.
right. So push the button, take a breath, and talk what you want to say. Don't yell. Oh, yeah, because we were going to talk about protocol. We don't really have the time for that. When you're talking on the radio, calm and concise. Don't try and use too many big words. Pro words are a good thing. The NATO alphabet is very useful. There are certain words to avoid, but that's really for more milsimi type stuff. Like you never say the word repeat
Yeah.
over a radio. It can sound like retreat. You know what I mean? Things like
That
that.
and it has a specific there's a specific use for it in artillery.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
True.
Mhm.
So if you didn't hear something, say again. And they'll say it again. Just listen in, have a good time, um, and yeah, just don't be a pain in the butt to everybody, and make sure your radios work before you get out there. Charge your batteries, insert your batteries, whatever it is going to be, and just have fun with it. Don't be too crazy. So that's my spiel. I'm a radio nerd. I apologize for anyone I've bored, but
No worries.
this is Bad Blood. This is what we do.
So shall we get into I know I have a hard stop at the top of the hour. So
Yep.
let's get
Go ahead.
over to the contest.
Yeah,
Shall
go
we?
for it.
All right. So everybody, oh, go ahead, Eric. Did you have
Yeah.
something?
Sonic Mundo. I have to go back to work. So
All right.
yeah, my break is over. So for the newbies out there, just the radio is for your safety, like for you to listen on the field,
Mm-hmm.
and then when you need help, use it. And then I'll see you guys on the field, and then enjoy Bad Blood 2025.
All right.
Awesome.
Eric, thank
Thanks,
you so
Eric.
much for joining us. That was great. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
See you, Warthog.
Bye. Bye. Thank you. Bye.
All right. So you want to bring up the wheel?
Yeah. All right, everybody. So for those of you who got your entries in before the show, we're going to be giving away some prizes. And I just wanted to show you what the prizes are before we switch over to the wheel. The grand prize is going to be a $50 gift card from Evic. And that's going to go to the winners. And to get into this contest, you had to send me your fill out a form online. And one of the requirements was to just to input your ticket order ID number, so that that's a reward for everybody who bought their tickets early. And we have 3 additional runner-up prizes. We have a Doge Squid Games Doge. We have another Squid Games Doge and a John Wick Doge. These are all morale patches from Evic. All right. So let's start with.
You got to bring up the wheel. It's no longer shared.
Oh, yeah. I'll share that. Which one should we start off with?
Let's do the new Squid Game, the green
The
Squid Game.
Okay, okay. Let me just share the wheel. All right. So give me a countdown and I'll hit the button.
All right, 3, 2, 1, spin it.
Oh, so close. Bruce Smith Jr.
All right.
So let me make a note of that. Bruce Smith Jr. won the green Squid Games. All right. So for the next prize, I'm going to remove.
Yep, remove them all.
Okay.
All right, go for 3, 2, 1, spin it.
This is for the pink Squid Games.
All right.
Anson Moy. All right. So Anson Moy gets the pink Squid Games patch. Okay, let's remove Anson. Go for it for the John Wick.
3, 2, 1, John Wick patch. Which is actually a very cool one. I like that one a lot.
Yeah. Jacob.
Okay, very nice.
Congratulations. You find Jacob and he gets John Wick. All right. Let's go for the final. And
All right, this is for a $50 evic.com gift card. 3, 2, 1. Come on, come on.
there we go.
Very
Sean.
nice.
We find Sean's name on here and Evic card. All right. So I have everybody's who entered. I have your address. So I will be sending out your prizes in the mail.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Of course. Well, I'll leave it off to you, Sonic, and to everybody else out there. Just be sure that you've told your friends to get your tickets for Bad Blood. We may be doing another prize. I'll see what I can drum up as a prizes for the next live stream.
Great.
Check out my live stream that I have on my every Wednesday at on my YouTube channel, and I'm just going to post up my Pew Pew channel in the chat here.
Go for it. And I'd like to say we will be live again on Thursday, the 29th, will be our last stream of May. And then from that day forward, we will be every single Thursday up until right before Bad Blood. So our last stream will be last pregame stream will be June 26th. So starting the 29th, you got me every single week barking about the rules and reminding everyone to stay hydrated.
So I've also posted up 2 additional links to my YouTube channel and to my website there. There is 2 additional contests at moondogindustries.com/contest. And if you go to that, you can see both of the contests. One of them is for a set of Pro Here headsets, which are for actual real steel shooting, and also a opportunity to win an Easy Shoot LPVO 1-6 LPVO, which of course you could use for airsoft as well as for real steel.
Well, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. All right. So that being said, thank you, Moondog. I know you got to get to church, and I really appreciate your time. I'm Ian, and this has been Bad Blood.